Welcome into Vandy on SI. I'm Joey Dwyer here on the floor at Memorial Gym after Vanderbilt's 109-74 win over Texas Southern. Going solo tonight. We had some scheduling conflicts, but was able to get here still. An interesting game for Vanderbilt as it puts on an offensive clinic once again against Texas Southern, which honestly might be the best team it plays in a bye game. I think has some athleticism. I thought Vanderbilt played good defense at times. It wasn't rewarded for it, which is odd to say considering Texas Southern shot. I guess the numbers turned out okay for them too. 45% from the field, 46% from three-point range. Obviously, not the level of competition it'll see, but I don't think as much of a team of scrubs as you would think based off of kind of how they've tried to schedule with Ken Pom and trying to schedule teams that are going to end up as quad four teams they can beat by a ton. And Vanderbilt did that. I don't think it was as much about Texas Southern being terrible as it was Vanderbilt being really good tonight, though. I thought it was an offensive clinic in a lot of ways. 60 points in the first half, and then you look at the second half. Almost as good of a performance. I thought maybe they slipped a little bit at times in the second half, but still 49 points as they ended up with their fourth 100-point game in the last five, and it's been a long time since Vanderbilt did that. We did some digging on that in the media room and really couldn't find anything comparable to tonight. Vanderbilt had 7 double-figure scores for the first time since, I think, 2018 when they played Savannah State. Just a complete clinic offensively in a lot of ways. And, again, another testament to what this Vanderbilt team has done offensively. We'll go through kind of the list. Duke Miles, 12 points. I thought he was fine. I didn't think it was his best game. Went down, tweaked his ankle a little bit. Duke Miles is fine, though. He's going to play in Atlantis from every indication we have. Tyler Tanner, I thought was probably their best player tonight. 20 points, 7 for 9 shooting, 3 for 4 from three-point range. That continues to be a real trend here for Tyler Tanner. We had talked a lot throughout the offseason about Tyler Tanner's, ability or at times inability to shoot it from beyond the arc. Right now, guess what? Shooting 47.5% from three-point range. I don't expect that to keep up, but the shot looks much better. And I think the confidence, obviously, a storyline there as well. Tyler Nickel, 20 points. Mark Byington talked about how he has really emerged as a leader, and I think that might be the story of the night for Tyler Nickel. I think he's got a voice. He's a big personality in a good way, and I think Vanderbilt is finally finding a way to really use that to its advantage. And I don't know that it was used negatively last year, but if Tyler Nickel's stepping into a leadership role, I think that's a big deal because he has to be one of the guys to lead this group. A.K. Okereke, 1 for 8 from three-point range, still ends up with 11 points. Devin McLaughlin, I think his best game of the year, 6 for 8 from the field, 6 rebounds, 14 points and 2 of 3 from three-point range. Tyler Harris, not a great night for him, still 10 points. And Jalen Washington, 11 points on 0 of 3 three-point shooting. You look at it, the points per possession tonight are just outrageous for this Vanderbilt team in basically every sense. And then you look at it and it's like, all right, so they missed who knows how many shots. They went 39 for 73. A.K. Okereke missed 7 three-pointers, and Tyler Harris missed 6. So that's 13 misses between 2 of your better players. You take that out, and a nearly perfect shooting night from this Vanderbilt team. I thought an interesting storyline. Chandler Bing gets in the game before Mike James. Certainly didn't expect that coming into the year. I thought to start the year, Mike James was a little slow, just in terms of getting back into game shape. He didn't play all of last year. I still stand by, he has what it takes to be one of their go-to guys. He's completely out of the rotation right now. Didn't get into the game until really garbage time tonight. Still looks like he's kind of working back into shape. Mark Byington, the other night, though, not super complimentary. I thought it kind of said we'll need everybody and left it kind of vague in terms of Mike James, which I thought was interesting. But to me, it's like, and I don't know if we're justifying old takes here, trying to get some confirmation bias. I think they want Chandler Bing to play a lot right now because they know he can help them moving forward. They know that they want to invest in him long term. And I think this is the time to really get him a lot of run. Not one of the first guys off the bench, but it seemed like a rotation guy tonight, played in the first half. You just think these are really valuable games for Chandler Bing. I don't think you'll see a lot of them in Atlantis. I think you probably have a better chance of seeing Mike James in Atlantis than Chandler Bing in a lot of ways, but I think these are important for Chandler Bing. And I think it's notable, he's out there with starters in the first half of a game tonight. That's a big deal. and I've been impressed with what I've seen from him so far. It's not like he's Tyler Tanner from last year where he's taken over the game or he's the star freshman, but I think he's steady. I think he takes good shots, and I think he kind of knows what his role has to be if he's going to be a player on this team or next year's team. They initially thought he was kind of a development project, and I think he's farther along than any of their other freshmen at this point, maybe by a significant margin. So Chandler Bing, another story. The other night, Mark Byington said he was close to being in a rotation spot. That matters for this Vanderbilt team, that it has a push like that from a freshman, because I really don't think it expected that to be anything of note at this point. 2 notes here. Mason Nicholson comes back with an illness, or from an illness that kept him out for the first 4 games of the year. The first 3 he was inactive. Saturday against Pine Bluff, I don't know what the case was there, but he was active and didn't end up seeing the floor. So interesting there. They needed to get him back before Atlantis, and he only played 9 minutes tonight. I actually had a -9 plus-minus, which really not sure how that's possible in a game that you win by over 30 points. But beside the point, I just think they needed to get him up and down the floor. They needed to get him his first basket, which he got tonight. They needed him to be in the rhythm of a game. And guys, he was that tonight. He wasn't fantastic. I don't think he made a huge impact on the defensive end. I don't think he made a huge impact on the offensive end either, but they're going to need him to be not as rusty as he was tonight when they go to Atlantis and they played games in back-to-back-to-back days. They need front court depth. They need a contingency plan if McLaughlin or Washington get in foul trouble. They're still trying to work Washington back in as well. Not that he missed a lot of time, but I think he's still a little timid within their system. He's still trying to kind of find out what his role was, although tonight I think was his best offensive game, unsurprisingly, based off of their overall production offensively. Mason Nicholson, though, is an important part of what they're going to do next week, just because they need the fouls. They need the 4 or 5 minutes that they can get from him in that setting. And I expect it to be more time in the SEC tournament or other tournament settings that they play, the NCAA tournament down the stretch. But for now, they need Mason Nicholson to be spot minute guy. And tonight showed me that he's not ready to be a 10, 15-minute game or per game guy yet. I think he's still kind of working back in, but he gave him good minutes against UAB, and I think he'll eventually get there. For now, though, don't freak out when he plays 5 minutes or less in 2 of the 3 games next week, for example. That's where I see Mason Nicholson. And also, don't freak out about Frankie Collins tonight. He had an ankle injury. He's fine. They said precautionary. Byington thought he was going to play tonight, actually, and then I think plans changed somewhat close to tip-off. Comes out in street clothes over here, and I think everybody's a little surprised, but Byington said he expects him to play in the battle for Atlantis. They need to be cautionary with him tonight. He's played. He's an old guy who knows the offense. They don't need to see a whole lot from him tonight, and I think that's really kind of the theme there. He's going to be an important piece for them as well. So that's really the state of things in terms of injuries, in terms of individual players. I think something to note here, Vanderbilt's 11-0 in bye games under Mark Byington. And anyone who's been around this program, asked Tyler Tanner about this after the game. He was around when Vanderbilt lost to Presbyterian, not that he was playing, but he was in the stands or watching from home that night. And Southern Miss, Grambling State, the games that really crushed this program down the stretch of seasons, those don't really exist for Vanderbilt anymore. I'll pull up the stats here. Let's see. Vanderbilt obviously has won every bye game under Byington, 11-0. 10 of the 11 have been decided by 10-plus points. The one that wasn't was against SEMO, which was either an NCAA tournament team or a borderline NCAA tournament team. I think a borderline team. I think they were second in the OVC last year, lost to SIUE in the championship. That was the only game where it was less than 10 points. Their Jackson State game was subpar last year as well, but they still won by a good bit. 7 of the games out of 11, Vanderbilt has scored over 100 points in, which is just absurd. And then 8 of the 11 bye games have been decided by 30 points or more. I hate the term guarantee games. I don't think that's fair to the mid-majors that come in here, and I think that goes against the idea of college basketball as a whole, where anybody's got a chance to win on any given night. That's why the sport's so great. Look at March. It feels pretty close to a guarantee game for this Vanderbilt program right now. They've had a lot of respectable mid-major programs come in here, like we talked about SEMO. Lipscomb came in here earlier in the year, and I don't know that they're awesome, but they're just blowing these teams out of the water. They're too big, they're too physical. and it never looks like these games are in question. I think that says a lot about Mark Byington, and it says a lot about the standard that they've created. Mark Byington said tonight, he wanted to quote Mike Tomlin, even though he's a Dallas Cowboys fan, and essentially said, like, the standard is the standard, and Vanderbilt has to approach every game kind of in a similar way. And I think it's an early season grasp, right, to say that this is a huge deal. I still think it matters that they go win in a game like this. I think that's a big deal in itself, that they're just completely mopping the floor with these types of teams that are respectable, especially Texas Southern in particular, I think is respectable. Probably was looking at it this morning, probably a top half of the SWAC team. Alabama A&M's good, Grambling's good, Bethune-Cookman's good. I still think they're probably top half, and I think that says something about Vanderbilt, that they're able to just, maybe if they didn't have their best offensive stretch in the second half, they still put up 109 points. There's a couple threes that rimmed out. They could have got to 120 points pretty easily if a few more of those fall, and you don't even have Frankie Collins. So it's not a Herculean effort by Vanderbilt by any means, but you're starting to see all the same trends emerge. They're taking these games seriously every time. They have balanced scoring. They're basically the same team every time they play a bye game, and that's a huge deal in itself. So a really nice night for Vanderbilt basketball in a lot of ways, not one that I think is going to tell us a whole lot, but they're going to move up in Ken Pom. They're going to be helped in Torvik because of this, and those are the real big things off of a game like this. Vanderbilt, I think, strengthened its resume a little bit, if that's a thing in a game like this, or at least didn't tank it. So for now, I think that's all we need to learn. They're going to Atlantis next week, and we're going to find out a lot then. But for now, I'm Joey Dwyer. Thank you guys for watching. God bless. We'll talk soon. Peace.